Indeed.
So if you go to China, Big Brother has already met big data, right? They already have facial recognition, which is connected to social credit scoring, and that directly lends itself to a control system. And they've already announced it in China for many years. I was in Shenzhen, China in 2019, 3 years ago, for an optical conference. And every corner you go, intersections, streets, buildings, indoors, outdoors, are just littered with cameras. And there are screens everywhere, and they are telling you that we are watching you. And you know we are watching you, and you will be okay with us watching you all the time. And so people have become very compliant in China. Right. And so you can then control the social credit system. It's like a feedback system on how people behave. And this is how compliance has been achieved in China. Now, they're already doing this in the Western countries. It's just that they haven't told us yet. So our social scoring has already started. Our carbon tracking has already started. I was in India recently, and when I got my receipt from United Airlines, it had a carbon footprint of 3.3 tons each way on the receipt. So
yes, the conditioning's already started, and we're talking here in Australia about banks starting to notify you about your carbon footprint.
Right. So but the narrative in the Western media is that, privacy and freedom have gone in China. Right. And the social credit system is a control system in China. And implicitly, we in the West are free. But that's really not the case. But the narrative is there, and it gives people the illusion that all the surveillance being put up in our cities and our towns in the Western countries is for security and safety of the people. But what is not said is that per capita cameras in America are greater than in China. We have 50 million tethered surveillance cameras in the United States connected to the internet and therefore to AI. And by 2025, $2 trillion would have been spent on cameras and the surveillance infrastructure of smart cities. Right? London is ranked number 3 in the world in terms of number of cameras per 1,000 people. Right? So the infrastructure is in place and is expanding. So if people, look up and they keep their, wits about them and go out in your towns and cities, you'll see more and more surveillance infrastructure being set up. And it'll all be sold on the pretext of safety and security of the people.
I didn't know London was ranked number 3. That's very interesting.
That's right. And New Delhi, India is ranked number 1 in terms of cameras per square mile.
Wow.
So there are well over 500,000 cameras in the city of Delhi. So just think about that. So while the world was sleeping, when COVID was announced and people were locked down and the fear porn was, blaring in every, television set, and people were quarantining, they were installing cameras and surveillance infrastructure. A report that came out earlier this year, by end of 2022, there will be 1 billion surveillance cameras tethered and connected to the internet in the world. And if you take mobile cameras and other cameras, that's greater than 20 billion data collection cameras in the world. So that is the. So I'll just make a switch to, these LED lights. I started to notice in San Francisco 2.5 years ago that a lot of the, the low pressure sodium, the yellow halogen type of lights, they started getting replaced by these very bright array LED lights.